Recording in progress.
Recording on, and I'll read out the introduction, and we can ask the proponents to begin whatever they have to present for tonight. Welcome to tonight's meeting. I just want to start off by telling everyone the meeting is recorded. If you don't consent to having your audio or likeness captured, please change your Zoom settings. We're here tonight for an Abutters meeting for 562 East 5th Street in South Boston. The petitioners have filed building plans with the Inspectional Services Department that did not comply with the zoning code in this multifamily residential zoning subdistrict. As a result, they received a zoning code refusal that they have appealed to the city's Zoning Board of Appeals, which triggers the community process, of which this meeting tonight is the primary component. We're here to make sure that proposals presented to the community I'll facilitate the conversation. Our office is not affiliated with the proposal, and the applicant will answer all questions about the proposal, while I can answer questions about the process and make sure if you have any additional questions, comments, or concerns, they are communicated to the applicant and to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I think that's it from, my name is Siggy. I'm a community specialist for the Office of Neighborhood Services. And I think we're ready for the proponent and or the representative. If you want to go ahead and present your proposal, the floor should be yours.
Great. Siggy, thank you very much. I want to thank you all for joining us. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Attorney Ryan Spitz with Adams and Moranci. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Who's joining us today is Alex Gibson, as well as the project architect, Eric Zackerson. As many of you are aware, this is a property at 562 East 5th Street. There's a proposal in front of you today that you will soon see the drawings. This consists of a change of occupancy. We're going to preserve the existing single-family structure, provide a rear and vertical addition, changing the occupancy from a one-family building to a 6-unit building with off-street parking for 6 vehicles. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Eric Zackerson, who's going to bring up the plans and do a run through the plans. Then we're going to open it up for questions or comments. What I do like to remind everybody, this is the first time publicly we're presenting these plans. A lot of what we're going to do today is sit back and listen to the feedback. And again, I want to assure you all that everything that's said this evening will be taken into consideration by the applicant himself. So great, thank you. Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Let me pull up my screen here. There we go. All right, so I'd like to start off by helping to orient everybody. We're going to be talking about an expansion to this existing single family here and conversion of the property. So most of you are probably very familiar with it. It kind of stands out, has a unique character that we definitely are going to want to preserve and actually build off of, try and retain the existing building and work with that. So it kind of has a good scale, and it also just stands out a little bit in this neighborhood as being a little bit unique, but also a pretty little building that we're going to work from. So from there, usually go to the zoning map, just so we can see kind of the property in relationship to its neighbors. You'll note here that it's almost 40 feet wide at the front, 46 feet wide at the rear, and 125 feet deep. So it's larger than a lot of the neighboring properties, longer than most of them, except for there are a few other kind of rather deep lots on this particular block of 5th Street. So from there, drawings that are filed with ISD. This is the plot plan, which shows that same property boundary that I was talking about earlier. The existing single family here with its addition on the rear, and how our addition will sit relative to that. So scrolling down to the site plan again, 5th Street is at the bottom of the page here. The driveway here will be where the existing driveway is, and the front 3 walls of the building will remain as they are today, and we're going to clean them up, refurbish them, and make them part of the larger project. And then you see the addition here in the rear, which will be parking on the 1st floor and the units up above. Quick shot of the basement plan. We're planning to leave that as finished basement, as not not finished basement. Then level one or unit one would be at the front of the building, and you'd see on the ground floor, you'd see the driveway come through. You'd see 6 parking spaces in the rear. This area here of the existing home is demolished, so the parking spaces can kind of fill this portion. And then we'll have the rear yard behind the building here, and you see it's about 20 feet from the property line to the building, 15 feet from the property line to the decks on levels 2 and 3. So levels 2 and 3 here are 2 units per floor. You see the second floor here, unit 2 here, which is proposed to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit with a living kitchen in the rear off a deck, which shares that rear yard space. And then the third floor.
Eric, it's Lydia. Sorry, I'm with the mayor's office. I'm with Siggy over here. Is there a way that you can kind of just maybe slow down and like zoom in a little bit more? It's just very challenging, I think, for a lot of us to actually see the detail, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, so slowing down. When you enter on the second floor, you're going to, for example, units 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to be very similar. So you enter into the center of the space. There's a living kitchen here in the rear. There's a deck space, and the deck space would be adjacent to that 20-foot rear yard space that would be on the ground floor. So you have a green space back here, living, kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. The primary bedroom being towards the front of the building with an ensuite bathroom and a walk-in closet, and a bedroom here with a kind of common bathroom, and which is adjacent to the corridor, adjacent to the main entrance, and adjacent to linked to the kitchen and living space. The unit on the other side is going to be very similar, with the living and kitchen in the rear, the deck adjacent to the green space, and then 2 bedrooms, a primary bedroom in the front with ensuite bathroom, walk-in closet, second closet, and then that common bathroom that would be adjacent to the second bedroom and the living kitchen space. Yeah, so the third floor is going to be very similar. I'm going to come back to unit 1 because that's probably the most complicated one and walk you through that more slowly then. Third floor is going to be very similar. You're going to have a primary bedroom and bedroom, living kitchen, deck, and the deck is going to be adjacent to green space. Same thing on unit 5. So these are oriented primarily to let the living and kitchen spaces have a direct connection to the 20-foot green rear yard. The top floor is the largest unit of the project. It is a 3-bed unit. We pull on this level. We have a deck in the rear, but the deck is not stacked right above the decks that are on the levels below. That allows a little more natural light to hit those 2 decks, a little more natural light to hit the green space down below, and puts this deck over the living rooms of the units 4 and 5. But the sequence is fairly similar. The living and dining space kind of occupy the rear of the property. And then you've got primary bedroom with ensuite bathroom, and a 3rd bedroom, 2nd bedroom room. So there's a small office here as well. We're seeing the demand for that quite a bit. And then the other thing we do on the front of the addition, which is not the front of the property, but the front of the addition, is there's a deck over a portion of the primary bedrooms on the level below. So we're kind of, as we go up through the project, you're going to see the existing single-family home is 2 stories, 2.5 stories. It has a small attic space here that's all going to remain. But then as the rear building, which is kind of the 4-story structure with the first floor being parking, second floor being 2 units, third floor being 2 more units, and the 4th floor, almost in a wedding cake way, has been squished in on the front and the back in order to allow natural light to flow more naturally around the property, but also to kind of keep that unit within the size that we were looking for. So going back to the kind of the most complicated unit, which really shouldn't be, but in a way, squeezing or putting a unit into the single family home, something we wanted to kind of keep active. So we keep the living and kitchen on the first floor. You enter it through the common corridor, common lobby, living and kitchen, and then you go upstairs to the primary bedroom, the secondary bedroom, 2 bathrooms. On the earlier drawing I was showing you, there's a option for a finished basement, but that basement would be kind of a family room type situation. We're not showing a bathroom down there. We did include it for FAR calculations. We don't have an exact plan for it at the moment, and so we're really treating this as almost a single family home that you enter through a common corridor. So, what does it look like? You can see we're preserving the existing single family facade. That's this piece, and then further back, here you see the dimension of it. It's 26 foot 1 inch from the existing facade to the new facade, which would be further back here. This elevation doesn't do it a great justice, but it is honest. It shows that the building behind it is a story taller, but we're choosing to mimic a lot of the language that it is in the existing building. So as I said, we're going to be refurbishing it, but maintaining the level of detail of the existing building here. And then we're going to use similar scale and similar detailing on the windows. We're going to have a series of dormers at the top of the 4th floor. And again, this is 20 feet back from the front of this. This is an additional, I forget off the top of my head, an additional 7 feet back to this zone here. Outside to this zone here. The rear of the building is going to present more like a pair of triple deckers with a shared stair. There's decks on the 2nd and 3rd floor, and then on the 4th floor there's a deck that's pushed back, so this rail is actually flush with this wall. That allows each of these spaces to have kind of a connection to the outdoor, and we're looking at the living rooms of all 5 of these units. So the living and kitchen are behind the door and window here on both levels, and then on both the 2nd and 3rd floor, and on the top we've got the living and kitchen kind of spread across the whole rear elevation. Inside elevation, now this maybe helps explain it a little bit more. So this is the existing home, 28 foot 1 here. This is going to be existing to remain, and like I said, we're going to refurbish and clean up the detailing of it, and then we're going to copy a lot of that into the language of the building behind it. So this level here, this area here is parking. Above that is level 2 and level 3, which would each have 2 units, but you see 1 unit across here. So living and kitchen in this zone, secondary bedroom, primary bedroom, and a bathroom. This is the deck that would be adjacent to that 20-foot rear yard. The stair, which is kind of in the middle of the space, but would be an open staircase, again, to allow light and to kind of be a part of the outdoor space. It's a secondary means of egress. And then the top level has been pulled back from both the rear facade in order to allow light to come through here. And it's been pulled back on the front here as well in order to we'll create a little outdoor space, but primarily to keep this building from kind of hulking over the 2.5-story existing single-family home. This is the opposite elevation, and it shows the same thing. The existing home to remain, the parking level, the 2nd floor and 3rd floor, which each have you see 1 unit will come across here, and then that top floor unit would be built section to help kind of further drive it home. This is the existing house. This is the level 1 garage area. And then level 2 and 3 each with 2 units, level 4 with that largest unit, that 3-bedroom unit. So those are the drawings that I have. I, at this point, usually pull up the refusal letter for Ryan to explain.
Great. Thanks, Eric. If you could just zoom in just to clear those up so people can kind of read the a little bit. There we go. Perfect. All right. So these are the violations that we're seeking relief with this proposal. The first one is a roof structure restriction. That's actually a conditional use permit we're seeking. So what is required here is, well, why we've been citing for this is that there's a partial demolition of an existing structure, and where that addition is going to be taller than that existing structure, so we're required to seek a conditional use permit. Next, I'm going to go straight down. Next, we have insufficient side yard setback, which required in the sub-district is 3 feet. The addition itself is about 1 feet away from the property line. Next one, we do have insufficient rear yard setback. As Eric did mention, is that we are from the rear yard to the actual dwelling itself, we're 20 feet back, which is compliant by code. However, it's actually measured from where the decks are, and we're 15 feet from the property line to the deck, so we do have a violation for that. Next is max allowable height in a sub-district. The max allowable height in here under Article 68 MFR is 40 feet. This proposal with that addition, again, is at 43 feet, 6 inches. We do have the next violation is another conditional use permit. And when you are extending over 1,000 square feet or more into a rear yard, that's required for a conditional use permit. Next violation that we do have is insufficient additional lot. What's required in this sub-district is 2,000 square feet for the first unit and 1,000 square feet for each additional unit, which we would be required for the 6 units to have 7,000 square feet. We have a lot size of 5,361. And the last violation, as you can see, is that we have an insufficient parking ratio. We are providing 1 parking, per unit. However, the requirement in the sub-district is 1.5 parking spaces per new unit of housing. So we would be required to provide 7.5 parking spaces, and we're providing 6. I'm happy to go into the zoning violations a little bit more in depth if anyone has any specific questions. And what we're going to do now, Siggy, I'm going to turn it over to you to open it up. Again, I just want to remind everybody this is the first time publicly, so we're going to do a lot of listening, and everything said this evening will be taken into consideration. And further, Siggy, if you could just, request that everyone identifies themselves with their name and address, it helps the applicant further the dialogue outside of a public forum. I know that the applicant, Alex Gibson, who's joining us today, has done some initial reach out. He may have talked to you about these plans again, but he'll continue to have the dialogue outside of public forums as well. So again, thank you all. Siggy, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you. Before we get into everyone's questions, comments, concerns, I want to give a shout out to Charlie with City Councilor Flynn's office, and Haley with the Office of State Senator Nick Collins, and Lydia with the Office of Neighborhood Services. Thank you all for attending the meeting tonight. If you're a representative of an elected official and I missed you, please just drop your information into the chat and I'll be sure to shout you out. We'll see who wants to start us off with their question, comment, concern tonight. Please click on raise my hand. There's a button that looks like a heart that says react. If you click on it, it'll open a menu, and one of the options is raise my hand. And please state your name and your address, and then the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern. And it looks like first up we've got Charlie. If you just want to state your name for the recording, the floor should be yours.
Hey, Siggy. Hi, Lydia. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to the team for the presentation. Charlie Levin, City Councilor at Flynn's office, Chief of Staff. Just want to ask a couple clarifying questions first. So is this a single family going to 6 units?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. How many bedrooms are there currently, and how many will there be?
So total amount of bedrooms will be 13 bedrooms total. So there's 1 3-bedroom, and there is 5 2-bedrooms.
Okay, 13 total. How many there as it stands right now, Ryan?
Eric, do you know what the count was?
Yeah, there are 3 in the existing home right now.
Okay. Is there a roof deck?
No.
No roof deck, not on the existing or the proposed.
Okay. Council Flynn asked me to hop on and say that he's opposed to the project as it stands currently. going from the single to the 6 units. We've heard from some neighbors and abutters on Fifth Street on the size and the density of the project, concerns about the number of bedrooms and the existing parking crisis in Southie. As you know, Council Flynn always emphasizes that compromise is critical during the community process. Right now, he believes it's clear that there are not a number of neighbors as it stands currently who are opposed, and he wants to continue to see work and good faith compromises on the project. Thank you.
Charlie, thank you for the comments. Again, everything's duly noted. I got to reiterate one more time, and I won't keep beating a dead horse. This is the first time publicly presenting, so we're going to do a lot of listening. And again, everything that's said this evening will be taken into consideration. One thing I do want to mention is that, Mr. Gibson, when he was walking around the neighborhood, he has spoken to a lot of the neighbors, and he does have a few letters in support that we can actually share, after this meeting as well. So again, Charlie, thank you. Thank you to the counselor for the comments. And again, everything will be taken into consideration.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, thank you. If that's the end of Charlie's comments, then let's see who's next in the queue. Looks like we've got Patrick. If you want to state your name, the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern.
Thanks, Iggy. Hi, it's Patrick Naughton. I live at 278 K Street, which is the corner of 5th and K. I just had one quick clarification question before my main question. I believe it's Ryan, the attorney, was talking about the infractions or lack of compliance with existing regulations. The last one was parking. I think you said the regulation or code is 1.5 spots per unit. Just wanted to clarify because I thought you said 7.5, and if there's 6 units, shouldn't it actually be 9 parking spots?
Yeah, no, good question, Patrick. So the code clarifies it is 1.5 parking spaces per new unit of housing. So where there's an existing single family, we're not required to provide that parking. So that doesn't get factored into the calculation. It would be the 5 additional new units.
Understood. Okay, great. And then my second kind of main question is, just thoughts on the design in general, going up to 4 stories. I think it just sets a bad precedent for the neighborhood. Curious if you looked into bearing the parking lot or the parking level as a basement. It seems like you have plenty of slope for a subterranean garage entrance from the sidewalk to the setback. Obviously, that'll probably impact your ROI on the project, but just wondering if that was considered as a solution around the maximum height infraction.
No, we haven't considered that yet. But again, I'm taking notes as we go, Patrick, and we'll definitely take a look into it, though.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of Patrick's comments. Looks like next up we've got Mike Donovan. If you want to restate your name, the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern. Sorry, you're stuck on mute, Mike. If you want to find your settings, unmute yourself. I'll click on ask to unmute. I'm not sure what that does. Maybe it'll give you like a little pop-up or something. All right, there. You're unmuted now.
Okay, Michael Donovan. I'm at 548 East 5th Street. I am very friendly with the people who live there. Before I've been in that yard, I walked in it the other day. I find you'd have a lot of trouble just parking 6 cars, never mind adding 5 units to 6 cars. And then when you came to the ratio of how you did the 1.5, you're still not counting, you're not required to, but there has to be some allocation as to how many parking spots go to the single family part of that. So that does increase the number of it. I could just imagine trying to see 5, 6, 7, 8 cars trying to come out of there and tie up the entire street for a very long period of time. I'm concerned about how close you are to the abutting properties on your left, right, and on behind it. And I have to say, while it is the first meeting, the flyer that went out wasn't very helpful. It didn't even designate K Street or East 5th Street. And I think that left a lot of people befuddled as to just what property you're talking about. Now we know that we're on this, but I want you to know that the area is very dense. More people on East 5th Street rent parking spaces up at the gate of heaven because of our insufficient parking spots around already. This is going to exacerbate a very bad situation. So I'm ultimately opposed to it, and I wait to see how we play this out again as we go further in the process.
Great. Mr. Clerk, very nice to see you. It's been a long time. Do hear you loud and clear. So as far as just want to address a couple of things. As far as the flyer, the flyer is generated from the mayor's office, and it's upon us. Our obligation is to distribute it and provide notification. So I just want to clear that portion of it up.
Thank you.
It is the parking. So each parking, I know we have 6 spaces. There's 6 total units. So the intention was to have each one of those units deeded out 1 parking space per unit.
But even by doing that, when you have 13 bedrooms, if you have 1 car per bedroom, you're going to far exceed the amount that I think is allowable. I'm still not counting the 1 family.
Loud and clear. I know parking is the #1 issue in South Boston and as well as many other neighborhoods in the city. So I do hear you loud and clear. And again, I appreciate your attendance. And again, I hope all is well.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, Mike, is that the end of your comments for now?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay, all right. Next up in the queue, it looks like we have Terry. If you want to state your name, the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern.
Yes, thank you. It's Terry Bressenham. I live at 560 East 5th Street. Like Mike, got to know the resident there and very fond memories. First question I have is, there were some very mature trees in the backyard that have all been cut down. And was that, I mean, that's in advance, I guess, of this project, but was that done under a permit to remove these mature trees?
Good question, Terry. I don't know firsthand. I will have to defer to my client, Alex Gibson, regarding the trees.
Okay, and the second question, it went through kind of quick with Eric. How close to I know there's quite a good size side yard between that property and our property. And I wasn't able to discern, but how close is that going to be now to the property line, your proposed building?
So the existing structure is going to stay at the same distance. I believe it's 7 feet 7 inches. And the new proposal of the addition is 1 foot side yard setback from the property line.
Okay. I think that's quite quite difficult because we bought this property based on the open space that was there, and your proposal is basically a 4-story wall right up on the existing property that we have. But we are all in favor of obviously improving the amount of housing that's in South Boston. I would be opposed to this particular proposal, but clearly open to other consideration of preserving the look and feel of this neighborhood, as well as the existing structure, which is a 2-story family home. And certainly we could expand the number of units in that, but so not in favor of this proposal, but certainly open to other alternatives.
Great. Terry, thank you very much for the comments. Do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And I'm not 100% sure. Is it just you and Eric that are here? Or do you have anyone on your team that's here who would be able to answer about the trees if they were removed in preparation of this filing, I guess?
I believe Alex is with us. Alex, are you still here with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I know that we don't currently own the property, but I do know that just in anticipation of understanding we were going to be going in front of the neighbors, that the backyard, which had previously been overgrown, was cleaned up by the current owners, and I don't know specifics of what was removed, but I do know that there was a lot of overgrowth, and that's no longer there.
Yeah, I think the overgrowth is different than mature trees, but that's...
Yeah, thank you for the comment. It's not, I mean, there's no, you're not required to pull out any type of permit to remove trees on your property in Boston at the moment. It's been discussed, or it's been in progress for a number of years, but there is no regulation on that. If you have a tree on your property, there's not much from the city that is protecting it. You're free to remove it if you wish. Next up, it looks like we've got Aaron. If you want to state your name, the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern.
Hi, my name is Erin Kelleher, and I own 546 East 5th Street. I share everyone else's concerns about this project. I think when Eric, the architect, was speaking, he used some buzzwords that I would use to define the property. He said it had good scale, and it was a pretty little building, and it had a lot of natural light existing, and it had a unique character. And I think what you're proposing takes away from all of those things. And I don't think that this proposal is in the spirit of the neighborhood. I certainly don't think a 4-story building is comparable to anything on this street. I think there are people on the street that have invested a lot of money in renovating homes that look very similar to the existing house, and they've done a very nice job retaining the character. And I think, to Mike's point, with the amount of vehicle traffic we have on this road, that number of cars coming out of this driveway, this block, cars speed down it very rapidly. And I think it's like becoming dangerous. And I think adding more cars and traffic is going to only worsen that. So, I agree with everyone else that I don't think that this is the best thing for this neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Looks like next up we've got Kevin Lally. If you want to state your name for the recording, the floor should be yours.
Kevin Lally, 392 East 5th Street, president of the Gatehaven Neighborhood Association. A couple of different things. One, from the association, I can tell you 43 feet 6 inches is not going to cut it. There's a reason why we have 40-foot height, and we plan on keeping that. Once we set a precedent of going over 40 feet, someone's going to want to go to 45 and then 46 and 47. We're in a neighborhood here, guys. We're not on East or West Broadway. So I can tell you right now that's south. A couple other things. You mentioned there are no roof decks. Technically, there are 2 roof decks. On the 3rd floor, you have the 4th floor apartment has 2 roof decks on top of the 3rd floor roof. We can get into semantics here, whatever you want, but they're roof decks. They're on a roof. When I went to school, if a roof deck is on a roof, if a deck's on a roof, it's a roof deck. And right off the bat, I can tell you our association is 100% against roof decks and everything. Overcrowded. You're trying to come into an overcrowded neighborhood. The gentleman, Eric, who started off this presentation, I counted it 7 times he used the word squeeze. We're squeezing this in. We got to squeeze this in. We got to squeeze that in. Well, we have zoning laws for a reason. So we don't start squeezing everything into every neighborhood. Now, a couple of questions. Is it true that the present owner of the property, which is the Frues, I know you bought it, but I believe is there a bonus in there that they get more money if this developer can squeeze more than 4 apartments in?
I have absolutely no clue, Kevin.
Well, I know you don't, Ryan, but I'm asking the owner there.
Alex, are you on? And again, I mean, a lot of these agreements too, even if in fact there was, I'm not aware of any such agreement. I wasn't involved in any transaction.
I'm not, Ryan, I'm not accusing anything, but I think the owner should be out here forward and let us know that if there is something there that they use the word squeeze all the time and we see them coming in with a 6th family, it would be nice if we knew if there's a bonus involved here so we know exactly what's happening. They're trying to take more money out of the neighborhood, is all they can get, and they don't care about the people who are left here. That's my opinion now, not the associations. But I think it would be incumbent upon you for them to state if there is such an agreement in effect and everything. How many decks are there in total?
Eric? Eric Zackerson?
Sorry, I muted myself because the noise was in here. So units 2 and 3, 4 and 5 each have 1 rear deck. And as you pointed out, unit 6 has 2 decks, 1 in the front and 1 in the rear.
And what are the sizes?
So the rear decks on units 2, 3, and 4 are 5 feet deep by 16 feet wide, which makes them about 80 square feet. And then the top floor deck rear deck is 38 feet wide by 8 foot 10. The front deck is 35 feet wide by about 7 feet, 6'5".
A very question here would be, if you got a 3-bedroom apartment up there, the size of those 2 decks is not for 3 people. Those decks are going to hold dozens of people, which our experience in South Boston with decks that size is noise and lots of noise. So I think you should reconsider them because, again, I know that they won't pass muster with our association. And I find it amazing, if you know that much about this neighborhood and the community, not you, Ryan, the people here, why you would come in with such an enormous project. Again, we live here. This is a neighborhood. And they come in just so you can make the biggest buck and the owner can get a bonus because they can squeeze a couple more apartments in. I think it's incredible. And I think it's a disgrace, to be perfectly honest with you. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
For those who know, Gate of Heaven will be holding a meeting on this. I believe with the area, so everybody will know. It will be sometime, and well, I'll talk to develop and see what's good for them. But we will also be holding a meeting coming up.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Kevin. As far as your question about an agreement or something of that nature, it's hard for us to make rumors or something like that a topic at the meeting. I recommend you go to Registry of Deeds and look up the address and see anything filed there about when the property was conveyed, if there's any.
Well, I disagree with you here. This is where the owner should actually, it's not a thing. If the owner's on here, he should be forthright with us. It's not a rumor. I'm asking a simple question, just like I ask anything else. This should not be incumbent upon me. The reason for this meeting is to have the owner on here or someone on here who can answer our questions. It's just a simple question. I'm not starting a room. I asked a question. Was it true? I didn't state it as fact. I asked a simple question. And aren't they supposed to be here to answer questions?
I think you posed the question and Mr. Spitz said that he had no information, so I suppose that's
yes,
great.
But where's the owner?
Kevin, what I'll do is
sounds like they're passing, so there's nothing I can do about that.
So, Kevin, what I'll do is I will talk with my client, outside of this public forum, and hopefully I can get everybody an answer pertaining to that. And again, if there is an agreement, I'm not quite sure if there's confidentiality or non-disclosure regarding it. So, again, I wish I had more information. I wasn't aware of any such agreement, but I'll definitely discuss and hopefully I can get it.
Again, I'm not blaming you, Ryan. I think that's something that the owner or somebody should have been forthright coming forward to us with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Is that it for your questions, comments, concerns for the moment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, looks like next in the queue we've got the Zoom name is 560 Sullivan. If you could state your actual name, and the floor should be yours for your comments.
Yep, it's Brian Sullivan, and just wanted to voice our biggest concern. So we have 6 windows on the east side. And,
You do it terrific. Now I know.
You hear me clear my throat every time I'm just.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So it sounds like somebody unmuted themselves for some reason. Let me go through here and mute everyone who's not talking. Yeah, you should be able to go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we have 6 windows on the east side, and you would basically, with that height and that close to our property, you would basically be killing the sunlight to, we're on the middle unit, to I think 4 or 5 of our windows. And then I know the unit above the garage, all of her windows look south, but those are some of the only windows she has in the place. And so you'd be basically killing a lot of her sunlight as well. So it's like Terry said, kind of like putting up a wall 10 feet or 10 inches off of our property line. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Do you have any? You want us to move on to the next person? Or do you want to?
Again, everything that's said, I'm taking detailed notes, and everything said this evening will be taken into consideration. And if there are in fact changes, which I'm hearing a lot of comments and feedback, so most likely there are going to be changes. So again, we'll have to be back to the neighborhood before even going to the civic group as well.
Okay, looks like next up we've got Lisa. If you want to state your name, and you can go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lisa Stewart. I'm at 271 K Street. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. First, I'd like to thank you for hosting this meeting. I've had some conversations with Alex Gibson, who's on this call, who's the owner. And I'd like to echo the feedback that everyone prior to me who has expressed concerns has expressed. I echo those. A couple of things. One is, given the conversations I've had with Mr. Gibson, who said he wants to work with the community and be collaborative, I'm concerned that there's been no answer to Mr. Lowley's question about the contract in place. I'd like to give you a minute to answer so that you can address that.
Again, Lisa, I can appreciate it. That's something I'm going to have a conversation with my client. Again, as an attorney, haven't been involved in any sort of transaction deal with this property. I'm here representing on zoning matters, but I'm going to have a conversation with him. I don't know if there is an agreement in place. And in fact, if there is, typically some of those agreements have non-disclosures. So again, I'm not going to, let my client answer that question at this point until I'm able to have a discussion with him.
Thank you for clarification. I appreciate that. Secondly, there was multiple comments during the description of the property acknowledging the value of the natural light that flows around the property. And because the current proposal will take up the entire length of the property line and tower well beyond the height of the surrounding buildings, the advantage of the property light that you described for your building is now a disadvantage to those of us that live around the building. My particular property butts up against the east side of 562 East 5th. I will lose all of my light. I'd also like clarification about the distance this property sits off of the property line on the east side of the property. Could you please clarify where the building structure, the distance the building structure will be from the property line on the east side?
Eric, you can actually even just bring up the footprint too.
Hold on. So I'm going to do both sides because I have a feeling the neighbor on the other side would share as well. So the site gets a little smaller towards the front of the building, and I'm going to start with the first floor where we don't have windows on the two sides of the garage. At this point, at the pinch point, we're at 1 foot from the property line, and we're 3 feet here in the rear of the building because the site gets a little wider. But on the levels above that, we've set back a little bit more from the sides, both in order to kind of like we had done in the rear, in order to enhance the light and to get away from the property line. So portions of the sides of the building are pulled back to 3 more feet from the property line. So this zone here is 4 feet from the property line. This zone here is 4 feet from the property line. This area here, you can see the roof structure below is square, but the zone up above, we pulled this whole thing back, this whole side back 3 full feet from the property line on both along the entire right side. So, it's kind of a complicated answer. I don't want to confuse it. I'm trying to be very honest about this. At the ground level, it's at the pinch point, it is just 1 foot from the property line. At the levels 2 and 3 and 4, it is 3 full feet from the property line along the length of the building.
Thank you for clarifying that. My concern is that my building sits directly next to the east side property line where bedroom 2 is in your images there, right behind that box on the right that says neighbor at 564 and 566. I'm directly north of that building. So the concern that I have is your building is now going to be maybe 10 feet from my back windows. That's too close. And not only is it too close, it's, again, I'm going to be looking into the windows of the residences of that property, all of my west-facing light will deteriorate while you maintain the benefits of such for your property. So there's a concern there. The next concern that I'm going to ask for clarification on is land removal at the back part of the property. Can you please go into a little more detail about how much land will be removed, the depth of it?
So the new portion of the building is going to be slab on grade. So the only soil that's removed is and not used as backfill is basically the 4-foot foundation around the perimeter of the building. So this does not have a basement. The basement of the front building will be maintained as it is, but the only actual land removal would be for the foundation.
Do you intend to do an assessment of the impact of land removal?
Assessment on the surrounding structures?
As an assessment of any implications that could be caused from removing, what's the depth you said you're going to be moving?
About a 4 foot or so, maybe 4.5 foot trench around the perimeter for the foundation.
So have you done any assessments to understand what impacts could happen if you need to remove land to that depth to the surrounding properties?
The surrounding, you're concerned about structural damage or about water runoff?
I don't know about the intended or unintended consequences. I'm sure there's several.
Sure. I'll answer both. For the first part, for the structural damage around the neighboring properties, we're going to be using pretty small pieces of equipment in order to do that, just because, as you can see, we're not going to bring a big truck through here, through this 10-foot zone. It'll be smaller pieces of equipment that'll basically dig a trench around the perimeter of the property. So they're not, this isn't like a large-scale excavation. And, that's part of the reason we don't have a basement, among other reasons. But that's part of the reason we don't have a basement is because we just can't maintain the existing home and do large-scale construction in the rear. I mean, not that we want to do a large-scale construction, but in reality, the pinch point there is part of the reason we're not going to be able to do anything deeper or bigger than that. As far as the drainage question goes, which is always an important one, whatever project is eventually or hopefully is eventually approved, we do have to develop a water and drainage plan with Boston Water and Sewer Commission, and that would basically there's all the rules in place, but the kind of overarching rule is any water that falls on our property now has to be maintained on our property, either in retention ponds or driven directly into the aquifer. And in this case, pretty likely there would be a retention piece of equipment in the backyard where water would drain to. There might even be one in the front yard since there isn't a lot of space to go across the property, come to 125 feet from front to back.
Okay. Thanks for clarification there. I still want to be cognizant that that's a concern of mine.
Yeah, understood. Okay, we'll talk to the owner to make sure that they're aware that that's a concern.
Yeah. So overall, my concerns include the fire hazard of the distance, the lack of privacy due to the distance of the structure from property lines, the loss, of course, from the excessive height of the building, lack of parking, obviously, for 15 bedrooms and 6 cars. And we know that residents around here can double up in these bedrooms. So you could have a minimum of 15 cars at that building, as well as potential noise pollution from HVAC equipment, as Mr. Lally pointed out, additional, porches that could potentially, house big parties or host big parties. So these things are all very concerning. I understand that this property will be developed to some extent. I think this is the wrong plan, and I'm not in favor of it at all.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to the next person. Meetings are supposed to take an hour. We'll go over by a couple of minutes just to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak, but please try to add new information when you do speak. Had a lot of comments, 9 comments about the dimensional regulations, the height and the setback, 8 about parking, 3 about the hidden financial agreement, I guess we'll call it. So please try to add new information when you do speak. And looks like next up we've got Sarah. If you want to state your name, the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern.
Thank you. Yeah, Sarah Hasley. I live at 560 East 5th. And like Brian mentioned, I actually live in the unit above the garage. So I won't waste time in terms of reiterating some of the things that have already been said, but definitely have concerns over privacy. Where we are with the 4 stories, these huge decks, as Mr. Lally mentioned. I did have a question about the space in the back, though. We have loved having the space in the back there, and definitely when I was purchasing mine was a benefit of having that space in the city. So what is the plan, I guess, for the backyard? It sounds like you said it's 20 feet width. Will that be landscaped, or what is the plan for that?
The current plan is that it's landscaped. There may be a tree or two, and then green space. We don't have a plan for a hardscape, a patio, or anything of that nature. But we also haven't really we haven't drawn or designed anything for it. Like everything else in the project, we can take back comments to the owner.
Okay, thank you, Eric. And then just one more thing. I know we've talked about that it's 1 foot basically from the property line. We have a fence that aligns to our driveway. So my concern is that will get damaged with the construction, and then obviously also the proximity just to our space there.
Yeah, so again, not to put it off, but we'll talk to the owner. Typically, in this kind of situation, we do both protect and repair the fence, and as well as put up our own. We may choose not to put up our own in this scenario, only a 1 foot of depth. But I'm sure Alex would be happy to talk to you about it and see if there's anything that he can do to kind of alleviate the concerns during construction and after.
Yeah, and then I just want to add in too is a comprehensive construction plan has to be sent in, and there has to be full insurance on this property as well as any other abutting property. So if there is damage to anyone's property or anyone's, again, fences are included in there, they will be restored to its original condition. If they can't be restored, they'll be replaced.
Thank you.
All right, looks like next up we've got Chris. If you want to state your name, the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern.
Thanks. This is Chris Valdez, Sean Hatton. We live at 278 K Street, Unit 4. We look out directly at where this development is planned. I want to disagree with you a bit that we need to necessarily bring up new issues, because I think it's important that you understand that many of these neighbors share the same issues and concerns with this development. It has to do with the parking, has to do with losing the character of the neighborhood by building such a huge building. It has to do with the decks and the parties, because already we are dealing with lots of partying younger people in these areas. So please do understand that these are big concerns. They're shared by many people in this area. So I just really want to make sure that gets across. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll see if, Ryan, I guess we'll give you a chance to respond. There's nothing new for you to respond to, I guess, right? Unless you want to.
No, again, I appreciate the concerns. We hear you loud and clear. And just one thing, I don't think it was no taken that these are ownership. They will not be rentals. They'll be ownership, home ownership.
Okay, looks like next.
Sorry, but can you clarify, or will the bylaws prevent them from renting, the owners from renting to people?
We're not even close to creating any sort of condo docs at this point.
I really don't think that makes a difference, does it?
Home ownership does make a difference. Again, their intentions are not to hold on and rent those units out. At this point in time is to sell each unit to home ownership.
Yes, okay, but they will rent those units out.
I can't tell you what a unit owner is going to do in the future. if in fact this is submitted under Chapter 184 as a condo association. I really can't predict it in that sense.
All right. Next up, we'll go with Nicole. If you could state your name, the floor should be yours for your question, comment, concern.
Hi, this is Alec McDonnell and Nicole Gunasekara. We own the fourth unit in 560, and we just wanted to echo the concerns of everyone else voiced on the call with regards to the, in particular, side yard setback and height of the building, but also to express just our general dismay. This is purely our sentiment and not an accusation, but it doesn't feel to us like this proposal was offered in good faith. There would have been ways to design a property that accommodated 2 or 3 units that would still accomplish the goal of expanding housing capacity in South Boston, but with much better parking tolerances, much better setbacks, much closer to the original character of the neighborhood. And for the record, we would probably be in support of a 2 or 3 bedroom proposal, but anything in excess of that feels like a maximalist money grab rather than an attempt to fit into the neighborhood and design something that works with the community and works with the character of the surrounding buildings. And so we are unalterably opposed to the plans as they exist, and without substantial changes, not just, knocking off 1 unit or 1 floor, but seriously reconsidering whether we're talking about 3 units or 6, I think we're probably going to remain opposed.
I would also like to echo Mr. Lawley's sentiment that the restrictions exist for a reason. We live in a neighborhood, and the setback restrictions, the height restrictions, all of those things have massive impacts on people's quality of life, their privacy, all the things that my neighbors have mentioned. And so those really need to be taken into consideration, especially given their infractions across multiple dimensions. And I would also ask the representatives from our elected officials' offices to consider when reviewing the letters that Ryan Spitz said that they have in favor, to consider who those came from and whether those are people who actually live in the neighborhood, or if those are people who perhaps own properties that have recently been sold and are also going to be developed, because as you've seen, there isn't anyone here who actually lives in the neighborhood who's in support of the proposal as it stands. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I guess it's 8:01, so let me go through the chat and see if there are any comments in here that the petitioner should be asked to respond to. Looks like there's nothing in here that is a question, comment, or concern, so we can go past that. Someone just posted, will a transcript of this read? Sure, I can put looks like I forgot to put my email in the chat. If you send me an email, you can get a recording of the whole meeting from tonight. This was a longer meeting, so it will take probably about an hour, a couple of hours to compile or load or whatever you want to say, and then we can send it out to you as a link. And I guess we'll ask Mr. Spitz if you want to make any type of closing comment or closing.
Vicky, sorry. This is Haley from Senator Collins' office. I just wanted so people can hear my voice if they don't see the chat. We just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's sent us the letters. We've received nothing but letters of opposition to our office. Senator Collins obviously stands with the neighbors, but I don't want to be repetitive and echo everybody's concerns that were already stated. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Ryan, do you have anything you want to add further?
Yeah, sure. Great. First, I just want to thank you, Siggy, for hosting the meeting. I want to thank all the elected officials and their representatives that came out. And most importantly, I want to thank you all neighbors for coming out and voicing your concerns. We hear you loud and clear. So we're going to circle back as a team. We're going to rediscuss, and I'm pretty confident we'll be back with a revised set of plans, and hopefully it's something more acceptable to you guys as a community in this portion of the neighborhood. And again, I'll advise Mr. Gibson to continue his outreach to you neighbors as well, now that we have a lot of names and addresses, and continue the dialogue, because the dialogue doesn't end in a public forum. They'll continue to have further conversations. So again, thank you all.
It looks like someone put a last second question in the chat. It says, where will the trash be located on the property? I'm not sure, Eric or Ryan, if you could point out on your drawing where your trash totes will be stored.
Yeah, and this is Eric DeFeo, 553 East 5th Street. Sorry for like the last minute. I haven't bad internet, but yeah, also agree with many of the comments, but curious where the trash will be because it's kind of if it's located in the yard out in front, that would be unfortunate.
All right.
Yeah, that would be
Mr. Zackerson.
Yeah, so we left an area kind of wide around the driveway to have trash, so people, when they come down the primary stair and go into the garage, would be able to drop their trash here, and it would be able to be rolled out on trash day, but within the buildings to kind of minimize the kind of smell and impact to the neighbors.
All right, thank you. And I want to give a shout out again to Lydia and Charlie and Haley. Thank you all for attending the meeting tonight on behalf of the elected delegation of South Boston. And thank you everyone for attending. I guess it's 8:04, so the time is up. We'll wrap it up there. Hopefully we gave a chance to anyone who wanted to speak tonight. So yeah, we'll call it there. If you want the recording, you can send me an email, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thank you.